Hello everyone. I hope you all feel well. My name is Yas and you're watching my first YouTube video in this channel. I'm going to read you a book from my childhood. The name of the book is The 1001 Nights, and it's the book that when I was 5 years old, 4 years old, or even when I was 3 years old, my mom always read it for me. Besides that, there was many animations and animes based on the stories of this book. So basically, we can say that my childhood, somehow formed around this book and the story of it. So it has some kind of nostalgia for me. I was telling myself maybe it's a good idea if I read some of these stories for you because it really makes me feel better, especially when I feel somehow down. And this is one of those moments that I really don't feel well. So I'm gonna try this as something like going back to your comfort zone, like going back to the good days of my childhood. And I hope that it helps you to feeling better. Before starting this story, I want to a little bit talk about the origin of this book. Well, actually, based on the name of the main characters of this book, Shahrzad and the king Shahryar, the both names are Persian names, and the origin of this book comes from Persia, from the ancient Persian, which is Pahlavi Persian, belongs to pre-Islamic time of Persia. And then there is some Indian stories and Indian moral tales in this book that they came from Indian when they've been translated in Persian. So you can see some influence of Indian cultures and the story from there. And then after all this, it translated to Arabic, entered to Arabic world, and it stayed there for centuries. Then they modified the book, they added some stories, and they changed a little bit or too much some stories, I don't know. So the book that we have now, that translated in French and then after that translated in English, it's based on the Arabic version. This book find its final form in Arabic world, but right now we can't say that it belongs to a specific culture or a specific country, but we can say that it's a multicultural book that belongs to Middle Eastern culture and South Asia countries. So maybe till now you're curious who is Shahrzad. Well, Shahrzad is the main storyteller in the famous collection of The 1001 Nights. She is very intelligent, brave, is extremely good at storytelling, and she is one of the bravest girls that you've ever seen. And then there is a king in this book who named Shahryar, and he believes that all women will betray him one day. So he always marries a woman and then executed her next morning. And then he marries another woman, and then he repeats this circle again and again. And the kingdom is running out of women, and everyone is terrified. Shahrazad volunteers to marry the king on purpose, and she has a plan. She begins telling the king a beautiful, exciting story, and she stops right at the most exciting part. And morning comes, and the king spares her life so he can hear the rest of the story. And the next night, she finishes that story and then starts another one. And then she stops in the most exciting part, and again stop there. And then This circle continues 1001 nights, and maybe you ask yourself, well, why she's doing this? Well, we can say that she's doing this because, first of all, to save her life, and second, to teach this cruel king to be again a human with these moral stories. And I don't know if she succeed or not because I've never reached the last story, I guess. So I don't know. Maybe one day we'll find out. We're going to read the first story. There was once a wealthy merchant who traded with many nearby countries. One day he rode his horse to a neighboring land to collect money that people owed him. The heat became very strong, so he stopped to rest under a tree in a garden. He reached into his saddle-bag and ate a piece of bread and a date. After eating the date, he threw away the pit. Suddenly a huge terrifying genie appeared before him. The genie was very tall and held a sword in his hand. He said, "Stand up so I may kill you, because you have killed my son." The merchant was shocked and asked, "How did I kill your son?" The genie replied, "When you ate the date and threw away the pit, it struck my son in the chest and killed him instantly. His death was written by fate." Hearing this, the merchant cried out, "We belong to God, and to Him we return. There is no power except with God, the Most High. If I killed him, it was not on purpose. I did not even know it. I beg you to forgive me." But the genie said, "Your death is certain, because you killed my son." Then he seized the merchant, threw him to the ground, and raised his sword to strike him. The merchant began to cry bitterly and said, "I leave my fate in God's hands, for no one can escape what He has decided." Then he recited these verses. "Time has 2 days, one bright and one dark. Life also has 2 parts, one safe and one full of fear. Why do you mock us when misfortune comes? Does fate strike anyone except the great? Dead bodies float on the sea's surface, while precious pearls stay hidden deep blue. Many stars fill the sky, but only the sun and moon are eclipsed. Many trees stand on the earth, green and dry, but only fruit-bearing trees are hid with stones. You trusted the god days when they favored you, and did not fear the trouble destiny was bringing." When he finished, the genie said, "Stop speaking, your death cannot be avoided." The merchant then said, "Oh, genie, I have debts to pay, property to arrange, a wife and children to care for, and things that belong to others. Let me return home so I can settle everything. I swear by a sacred promise that I will come back to you. God is my witness." The genie accepted his promise and released him, giving him 1 year to return. The merchant went back to his town and settled all his affairs. He paid his debts and told his wife and children what had happened. They all cried deeply. He appointed a guardian for his children and stayed with his family until the year ended. When the time came, he wrapped his burial cloth around himself, said goodbye to his family, friends, and neighbors, and left, though his heart was broken. His family followed him, crying and wailing. He returned to the same garden on the first day of the new year. He sat there, weeping and waiting for his fate. Soon an old man approached him, leading a gazelle tied with chain. I think gazelle is something like a deer. In Persian, we call it ghazal. So, yeah. The old man greeted the merchant and asked why he was sitting alone in a place known to be visited by jinn. The merchant told him everything. The old man was amazed and said, "By God, your honesty is great, and your story is astonishing." Sorry, I don't know this word. It is a lesson for anyone who wishes to learn. He sat beside the merchant and said, "I will not leave until I see what happens between you and the genie." While they were sitting together, another old man arrived, leading two black dogs. After greeting them, he asked the same question, and they told him the story. Soon after, a third old man came, leading a spotted mule, and he too heard the story. Suddenly the dust rose into the air like a great spinning comet coming from the desert. When it settled, the genie appeared again, holding his sword. His eyes burned like fire. He grabbed the merchant and said, "Stand up so I may kill you, as you killed my son, the joy of my heart." The merchant cried, and the three old men wept with him. Then the first old man, the owner of the gazelle, stepped forward. He kissed the genie's hand and said, "O mighty genie, king of the genie, if I tell you my story and the story of this gazelle, and you find it more wonderful than this merchant's story, will you forgive 1/3 of your claim to his blood?" The genie replied, "Yes, if your story is as wonderful as you say, I will forgive 1/3 of my claim." And then Shahrazad ended the story and told the king that she will continue it next night. So this was the first story of Shahrazad, and so we will end it here and we will continue in the next video. And I hope that you like this video. I mean, English is not my first language, as you know, and this is the first time that I'm reading a story in English for someone, and I guess there's many mistakes that I made, and maybe my tone or the way that I pronounced many of these words was wrong. So see you next time with the continue of a story. Bye.